Namaste, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and I help people navigate through their ascension process. And today I'm going to do an October 2017 Ascension Energy Update. Essentially, the premise for this month, it's like starting new chapters, or more specifically, maybe you're starting to sense that this chapter is ending, it's winding down, the story is concluding, you're already having ideas about where this next chapter, or insights into this next chapter of your life. But it might feel like the chapter is ending too soon. The character stories haven't wrapped up sufficiently in your mind. You don't maybe feel ready for that next chapter, and yet you can sense very strongly the pages are getting thin and you're almost there. On the other hand, you probably can sense as well, parallel to this, that this next chapter is going to be very awesome. It's going to be like a big upgrade for you, very exciting, and just a massive improvement to your life experience, and your actual external, your circumstances in a physical way. It's going to be a badass chapter, but the prospect of change is never comfortable. Okay, so now I'm going to go get into some of the themes that you might be experiencing in a more practical, in the moment sort of way, as a response to the onset of your life changing in this big way. And some of the symptoms of change, of course, are not all that pleasant, but at the very end I'm going to tie it in and explain to you how this is going to be just a massive blessing in your life. So again, number one, you might be feeling like big changes are going down, like you feel like it's time to move on in your life in a relatively big way. Not so much like it's time to change my shoes or get some new clothes. It's more like you might be suddenly drawn to a place where you want to live, or a brand new career idea, or something on that kind of scale. For me, the way it's playing out is I'm feeling strongly guided to my next place of residence. As many of you know, I moved here to San Diego during a similar type of shift about a year ago. And for a while, we've been just kind of exploring the area. Nothing has really stuck out to us. We found pros and cons to many of the diverse areas within this big county. But recently, we've been me and my family, when I say we, have been feeling like we can discern now what is a vibrational compatibility for us, and that is this Mission Beach place. It seems to be our place, the general location of that, and we've been getting synchronicities that have been kind of calling us there. Like, it's just as I was guided to San Diego, I'm having the same phenomena happen with this Mission Beach. Also, in the fundamental way I help people, the way I do it through my channel and coach, all that is starting to kind of shift, and I feel like I'm being taken into just a different version of what I'm doing. Again, these are kind of big changes for me. For a while, I've been set in stone. We've been content where we're living. I've been content doing this, and now it's like whoosh, all this change. The changes just continue, but all the changes, even though they come on a bit suddenly, they're always big, awesome upgrades. Number two, whenever this happens, there's a lot of out with the old, in with the new. Out with the old stuff, reflections in your life that might be giving you comfort and a sense of normalcy and predictability. Those start to break down, and it's very frustrating, and it can be kind of unsettling as well. And the new isn't sort of an equivalent yet. The new comes in the form of ideas and synchronicity. So once again, you're forced to rely on faith and do your best to remain optimistic as these changes unfold, that by now you've realized that there's no point fighting them. The way it's happening for me is, again, I feel like we're going to be moving to Mission Beach at some point in the near future. But we don't feel quite ready yet. It's not time exactly to start looking at places to rent or anything like that. But already my RV where I'm staying is breaking down again, like big things. It's a relatively new RV, and just yesterday two sort of obvious things broke on us in the same day. One of them was we have these recliner chairs, and one of the chairs, it just stays open now. It won't close, so it looks kind of ridiculous whenever you want to clean up the place. There's always that chair sticking out. And on a more fundamental level, the front door is not working either. We have to like jimmy it open with a butter knife because the handle broke. Just things like that. I'm not trying to complain about it, but those are examples that go beyond just the mere physical inconveniences that we sometimes encounter. They both happen in a way in tandem with all I was just talking about. So it's just, to me, it's symbolic as like this situation is breaking down, out with the old, but rest assured, in with the new positive upgrades will replace them, and they always do. Sometimes when we are like caught in the midst of these big changes, our old ego child, little inner child, flares up big time because it's almost like it's been sleeping for a while, but then it's caught wind that all of these crazy changes are going down, and it's like, oh, no. I don't know how I feel about this. We're not ready. And you might just have some of those old, very childish emotional patterns playing out. Just like for me, it's like it comes sometimes in like a concern of what people think of me, an obsessive checking of how all my different things are doing in a very like compulsive and neurotic way, as if the inner child in me is feeling very like insecure and I don't know the right word. Like, I don't know, provoked. I can't think of the right word, but I'm gonna move on. But anyway, it just feels like, oh no. But it's, I don't know if that made sense, but it's just temporary. So if you feel very like emotional and neurotic, that's okay. Just kind of let yourself be. Do your best not to do anything too stupid, and just kind of chill. It's what's happening is it's kind of a double benefit here. Yes, what's going to happen is you're going to make these really positive changes that even though you might not feel ready for, it's going to like enrich your life in unimaginable ways, but also conveniently on the road to doing that within the same process, you're going to trigger that little ego, which is never comfortable, but it's going to allow another layer of that emotional heaviness to kind of dissipate and get out of your system. So when you do finally become implanted in this new situation, you're going to be a different person. You kind of have to change vibrationally, emotionally, literally to be in this new thing. So it's kind of, you see the physical symptoms of it, but also the emotional symptoms of this change you're being pulled into. Again, always leading to a massive upgrade on all levels, but as it's happening, it tends to be kind of a macro type of cycle. Again, ending of a chapter, beginning of a new, so it's not just a night and day thing. So do your best to kind of stay present and trusting and in a state of allowance, and do your best to stay conscious and just act wisely. And that's all you got to do, man. You'll be fine. 4, you might sometimes when you're like feeling like this, where you're feeling kind of shaken, I would say when your foundation is shaking, you might have ideas of things you want to do in your life to implement, whether it be like change your diet or start a running routine or get started cranking out blog posts for your new online business, whatever it is, plans that you know are going to help you and are part of your path. But in this place of shakiness, you might be at times, like you might let yourself down at times. You might try something, but then you wake up and that inner child is so flared up, it's just not happening. So if you've been like trying to start something, like a habit or something, and you failed once or twice, that's okay, don't worry. One, don't give up, because again, this is a very fleeting manifestation of this big positive change, and there will come a time, it's not that you suck, it's not that you have no willpower, it's that sometimes you just don't know what kind of mood you're going to wake up with, and sometimes these emotional purges can cause you to be a bit unbalanced, to where it's just almost unrealistic to ask of yourself to be consistent with your mental plan. So just be flexible with yourself, understand there's a big process kind of going on in your life, a big, massive paradigm shifting thing going on with you, and sometimes it will throw you off your game a little bit. But again, those are all just fleeting symptoms of this massive change that is attempting to manifest in your reality. Lastly, as promised, I'm going to tie all of these symptoms in and explain to you just how they are working out in your favor and how your life is always unfolding in your best favor with your highest good in mind, even when it doesn't seem as so. I'm going to share a very impactful story that I just read out of a newfound favorite book called, I don't remember the name, but it's written by a guy named Muji. It's a story he tells that exemplifies beautifully just how things are always working out for you, even when it doesn't seem as so. So don't buy into your initial conclusions of the present circumstances because you don't really see how the picture is going to unfold. So the story is about a king. He's kind of an insecure, not extremely wise king, just someone who's ascended to a nice high of power because of his family ties. But he was wise enough to appoint a council, a very wise and grounded councilman. And this council guy, he was always with the king. No matter where he went, he was always there to advise him. And the king really trusted him and valued his input. Anyways, one morning the king woke up and he was kind of tired and he slipped out of bed. And when he slipped, he fell and he injured his elbow real bad. In fact, he broke it. And he was crying out in pain, just really like in agonizing pain. And right away the council came up to him and said, "Oh my goodness, you broke your elbow. This is good." And the king was so like hot-headed and furious and annoyed with what his council had said to him. He said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How could this possibly be a good thing? Guards, take him away." And he had his council thrown into a dungeon to await his beheading or whatever he had planned. I don't know. The story didn't really specify. So the king was pissed off. The council was in the dungeon. But as time went on, the king eventually healed. About a week to 10 days went by, and the king was already feeling a lot better. In fact, one day he woke up, he was feeling so good, and just so like you know how it is after you've been sick for a while and you finally feel well, you're like, yes. So the king felt that way, right? And he got on his horse, and he flew into the woods on this awesome ride, and he was just like lost in the moment. It was a beautiful day. And he was so lost in like the joy he was experiencing, feeling better now and renewed, that he didn't realize he crossed the boundary lines and kind of headed into a dangerous territory where there was this tribe of cannibals they were at conflict with. The tribe of cannibals, they saw the king, they're just riding around all bubbly, and they surrounded him and they captured him and they threw him in a tent to eventually cook him up, basically, and eat him. So there was the king was sitting there in his tent, and he heard these horns go off, and then all of a sudden he could hear footsteps and people gathering around, getting ready to feast upon this king. They bust in the tent, they grab the king, and they take him to this massive bonfire that they created with this big old pot of boiling water. And he was like, oh my goodness, you can imagine what the thoughts going through his head. And they were all celebrating, like they were making a big deal out of it, all the tribesmen. And as they went to strip the king of his clothes, they took his shirt off, and they realized that he had that elbow issue. And all of a sudden the drumming and the celebration just stopped. It was silent. You could sense the feeling of being let down. The whole tribe was like, oh man, you know. And the guy he was taking off his clothes said, you see, he's got this imperfection. We can't eat him. So he picked the king up and they put him on his horse and they sent him right back to where he came. The king was like, oh my God, I dodged a bullet there. Wow. Whew. And as he was pulling up to the kingdom, it dawned on him what his council said. He suddenly realized what his council meant when he said, this is a good thing. And the first thing he did, he got off his horse, he ran down to the cellar, and they said, release him right now. He got his council out, and he was so apologetic and sorry. He said, I can't believe I threw you in there. I see exactly what you meant. If I would have had this elbow issue, I would have been gone. I would have been a goner in some sort of miserable way. What can I do to repay you? I feel terrible. And the council said, this too is good. The king's like, what now? This is good. How is this possibly good? You sat there for like a week eating nothing but bread and water every 3 days. There's no light. How could this be a good thing? I don't understand. The council said, well, if this didn't happen, I would have been riding with you, as I always come with you, and they might have spared your life, but they would have cooked me up for sure. Here I am. Now, for me, that was a very impactful story because I've had things that have come into my life as seeming obstacles and challenges and even problems that in the end I can look back and say, oh my goodness, that was so perfect, so helpful, such a blessing in disguise. And that's kind of how this process of change can go down with the awakening process. In fact, it goes down that way a lot. You can probably reflect on your own journey and see where it's already played out like that. So if you find yourself with a broken elbow, don't immediately curse the gods and think that life sucks. Have it more of a curious mindset and say, all right, this will be really fascinating when in time I'll be able to see how this benefited me. And I guarantee there will be a time that that realization comes. It always works out that way. You have the divine grace at your back. Things are working out for you. You're just improving so fast. Your mind and ego and inner child can barely contain itself. Okay? So hang in there, ride the waves, keep doing your thing. I'll catch you guys soon. Have an amazing day. Namaste.